Hey, what's up, guys? Another quick monitor review. The guys over at Titan Army, the people who made the 24-inch 1440p 240 hertz monitor, the first of its kind, they decided to send me another monitor, another unique monitor to do a quick review of. This is the C32C1S. What a man, I love monitor names. It's a 32-inch 1440p 240 hertz curved VA monitor. Just like the 24-inch IPS monitor I did a review of, this also has adaptive sync and HDR support. This thing has really good reviews on Amazon. I think at the time of making this video, it has like 4.7 stars on Amazon. It's $370, but it also has a $40 coupon. Not surprisingly, this thing absolutely dwarfs the 24-inch that I just did a review on. I mean, it is just not even close. The unboxing of it was pretty basic, just another cardboard box. Comes with some hard foam. In the box was a power cable, DisplayPort cable, the manual, and then this time a metal stand. Stand was a little confusing at first, but once you get it all set up, it's pretty solid. Just like the other monitor, the stand has very little adjustment. You can basically just tilt it, and that's about it. Once again, I'm just going to be using my desk arm clamp stands that have VESA mounting, because this monitor does just have normal VESA mounting. You do, however, have to use these long standoffs if you want to use like a normal VESA mount. Just thought I'd mention it for anybody that does care. The monitor has ambient lighting on the back as well, but it's not very bright. So unless your like room is just pitch black, you don't notice it much. And on the bottom, we have two HDMI 2.1s, two DisplayPort 1.4s, and an audio out, and of course the power. Initial impressions of the monitor are pretty good. I have been using it exclusively for about 2 weeks now. The colors are actually really good. The blacks are a little bit darker than the IPS monitor that they make. If you're viewing it straight on, the viewing angles are not good on this monitor, especially for the colors. If you look at this thing from the side, the saturation just completely disappears. But I think I mentioned it in the last video as well. I don't know when you're ever going to be viewing the monitor like this or playing games at an angle like this, so it doesn't really matter. The curved aspect of the monitor was really not that noticeable, especially since this is actually just a 16:9 monitor. This is not ultra wide. So I didn't notice it all that much until I got curious and I forced the monitor into ultra wide mode by just giving it black bars. And this way, the vertical height was actually pretty similar to my 24-inch monitor. What's funny is that when I had it in this mode and you actually get into the game, you don't, at least for me, I didn't notice the black bars all that much after a couple minutes. And so this is how I ended up using the monitor for the most part, was playing ARPGs and MMOs in ultra wide mode. And this way you do notice the curved aspect a little bit, especially on UI that's on the very edge of the screen, like in Diablo 4, when you're in your character screen, you definitely notice it there. And this was pretty nice, especially considering it's a 32-inch monitor and it's absolutely huge on my desk, even when it's pushed all the way back. But yeah, for sure, forcing it into ultra wide mode was what I use the most, especially in a game like PoE, where the FOV is a little bit more claustrophobic. When you put it in ultra wide mode, it actually gives you higher FOV in PoE, and it was really nice. FPS gaming, on the other hand, was not too great. So by far, biggest complaint with this monitor is, at least on the panel that I got, it has very noticeable ghosting. When I was playing games like Diablo 4, or really any single player game, I didn't notice it that much until I started playing FPS games, where at the time it just seemed like the motion clarity was not that good. I'm not even going to compare it to the 24-inch IPS monitor that Titan Army makes, because it's not even close. The IPS was way better. But especially when you're in a game and you're scrolling with white text on a black background, or you're just like on a website with dark mode, yeah, that ghosting is very noticeable. So for this monitor, I definitely just stuck to, yeah, like I said, ARPGs, MMOs, and then actually watching movies and TV shows and all that stuff on it was pretty awesome. Another small complaint with this compared to the 24-inch that I actually bought myself from them, this one doesn't have nearly as many settings as the IPS one, it still has the basic stuff, like you can change the shadow balance and the sharpness and, the saturation and contrast and all of that, but it is missing a lot of the settings from the IPS. The IPS is definitely way more FPS focused than this one is. So I think what I'll probably be using this monitor for most of the time is like to use it as an ultra wide monitor on ARPGs. And then also recently I downgraded from a two PC setup to a one PC setup with only two monitors. So I'll probably use this as a secondary monitor. And because it's so huge, I can have more windows open on it and they're still pretty decently sized. I'll probably have Spotify and Discord and OBS chat, all that stuff on it as a second monitor. So overall, I still think it's pretty solid. If you can get it around, closer to $300, I'd say it's actually still pretty good. I would have said it's, really, really solid if it wasn't for the ghosting. The ghosting, I'll try to get it on camera. It is, yeah, it's very noticeable. That definitely dropped it down a couple notches for me when I noticed that.